Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Mike Ames Recruitment Show, where, as you can see, we're going to be talking about AIDA, the most powerful sales and marketing technique ever, and how you can use it to make more money by being more persuasive. I'm always a fan of that. And to do that, we have the resident super fan of AIDA, and that is, in fact, Mike Ames. How are you doing today, Mike?
Very good, actually, exceedingly good today. Because, I don't work Friday, so today is Friday for me. I do this. I do some emails, off to play golf. I wish, actually. No, I just do 5 days work in 4 days.
I was going to say, you just work longer, more difficult hours.
I'm going down to 3 days after Easter. So I'm guessing I'll be doing 5 days in 3 days then.
We're all excited about it. We're all excited. Okay, Mike, but let's not dilly-dally, because I know for a fact that you might be AIDA's biggest fan, right? Oh. I think you mention it. I mean, the audience will probably tell me every other show at least. So can you just, for everybody watching, can you tell us what AIDA is exactly and just why it's so important that you talk about it all the time?
I don't know where to start. I mean, everybody that's successful uses AIDA, but half of them don't even know. They use an AIDA technique, but they don't even know they're doing it, but they're successful because of AIDA. So the point of today is to explain what AIDA is. You can figure out what you do or don't do, and then lift your game in the areas where you need to. But AIDA was invented by, get this name then, Elias St.Elmo Lewis. American, you would imagine. If there's any Americans listening, we love it. But in 1913, so it's 111 years old this year, and it stood the test of time. It still works, and it always will work. Because it's actually a persuasion tool. It says that in the little title thing we had a minute ago. It is a persuasion technique. And of course, sales is persuasion. So is marketing. So is management half the time. So you can use it in all of those areas. And effectively what it is you grab attention, you create interest, you build desire for whatever it is that you want to persuade them to do. And then you have a very simple call to action that's a no-brainer for them. That's how it works. And if you think about cold calls, got to get their attention, create a little bit of interest as they're going to cut you off, then you get a little time to build desire, then you ask them for whatever it is that you want to ask them. Emails, subject line grabs their attention, and so forth. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about this in more detail later. So the point is that if you use AIDA, any time where you're talking to somebody that you don't know or don't know very well, or if you think the persuasion is going to be difficult. So if you want somebody in the team to do something you don't think they're going to want to do, you're probably going to need AIDA. If you want to be promoted and you want to go and see your boss, you're probably going to use AIDA for that, right? So AIDA is used everywhere and it's so powerful. Now, let me tell you why we're doing this show, because we've done a show on AIDA before. And this won't be the last time we'll do it, I don't think.
Definitely not.
I want you to think out there. In fact, if you've got time, just put in the comments. I'd like to hear it. Who out there gets too many emails? Right? Just yes, I get too many emails. Yeah, I do too. I'll just put myself in for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get too many emails, and I'm guessing you just get into the habit of deleting them.
Junk.
With the advent of these so-called content generators, which I've got a very dim view of, by the way. A lot of these content generators are producing so much stuff that goes out, and it's noise. People know that it's been generated by a computer, but even if they're vaguely interested, they probably don't have the time to read it because there's so much stuff now, right? And that's your problem right there. That is your problem right there, is the volume of content. WhatsApp groups. There's some I go in, and I just think I can't be asked to look at the 300 messages. I may have exaggerated that a little bit, but
not really.
I'll skim over all of that. Can't be asked. I'm not going to go back up and look at it. Social media, you go on there and it's just full of stuff really coming your direction. So what our brains do is the only thing that they can do. They sift out the things that aren't relevant or that they think they don't need. I get a blog every day from a guy called Seth Godin, who, by the way, is awesome. Purple Cow. Check out Purple Cow, man. Brilliant book. Anyway, I used to read it religiously. It's not that long, quite short. I probably read one a week now, sometimes not even that. Not because it's not great stuff, it's because I'm a bit short of time, really. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, right, I've got this message I want to get across. I know that if I can get to speak to that person, I can persuade them to give me the vacancy or put me on the supplier list or come to my event or read my blog or whatever it is that you want them to do. Download my salary report. The trouble is you don't get through this barrier of noise. So you have to grab attention. You have to do that, right? And all that gives you then is sort of a little window. It's like almost like, yes, well, what? What have you got? What have you got? And you've got about 7 seconds then to be able to say, oh, let me tell you what I've got, right? Picture a cold call. You know, cold call is a classic case. You manage to get through. The person that you want is on the phone. Oh my God. Okay then, right, here we go. Unless you're particularly well versed in that and you know exactly what to say, which I'm sure a lot of you are. Okay. So I think that this, it doesn't matter how good your content is. It doesn't matter how good your product is or your asset or anything really. If you don't get their attention, you're a dead duck. And when you get their attention, you get a small span of time in order to get their interest. I'm going to show you how to do this a bit later. Right? And then from that, you've got a bit of breathing space. It's like, okay, all right, you got me now. Right, what do you want? Explain to me how that works or show me what that is or whatever. And then at the end, if you do that job properly, and there is something that I want to just pick on here, which is a really important point for all of you. If you do that properly, then there stands a much greater chance of basically agreeing to do the call to action that you've given them. Would you do this? Yes, I'll do that. I'll sign up for that. I'll give you an opportunity to work on a piece of work or whatever it is you're pitching for. So AIDA is a great persuasion tool, and we need it more and more now in the modern world. And you know what? It's an upward curve.
Oh yeah.
And a year from now, we'll have these generators of content. I am speaking through my nose. Going to sneeze otherwise.
No, don't do that. I'll get real cross. Whilst you're handling that, just to let you know, Alex did summarize perfectly how many emails he gets. About 200 an hour, which are mostly nonsense. 100% agree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And if you look at what you get in your junk mail, a lot that you don't look at, but if you do, oh my God, it's amazing. So, and that's what these content generators, especially the email ones, don't kind of get. It's like you are going to ruin your online reputation. It's just going to junk them. That's why I don't junk Seth Godin, because I want him to keep coming through, and I open the odd one because I do like his stuff.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, we are going to have to move on in a second. So you just want to summarize this point up.
Yeah. So we need AIDA more and more, but we need to know how to use it, and to do that, we need to know in detail what it is. So what we're going to do now is talk through using AIDA in different scenarios, particularly like cold calls and cold emails and pitches and things of that nature, the odd maybe presentation or proposal, because you can use AIDA in the written form as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be just in an email. So his email is written, is it? But you can use it in a report or a presentation, or if you're doing a talk, you start the talk by grabbing their attention. You know. So
okay. So all right, Mike. So I think then, without further ado, let's start. We're going to go through each of the 4 elements of AIDA one by one. So let's start with the first one, which is grabbing attention.
Yes. Now, in the past, that wasn't too bad. When I started out, you can say in the olden days, if you like, you can actually ring hiring managers up on their landline because that's all they had, and they would answer the phone. You would talk to them, right? And so the grabbing attention was relatively easy. The creating interest was a bit harder because they were getting these calls all day long, right? But the grabbing interest wasn't a big deal. Kind of is now, isn't it? You know, you think about these barriers. You've got voicemails. I know people that never listen to voicemails, but they don't answer their phone either. I don't know how that works, right? Their emails being spammed all over the place. And in my case, I'm sure lots of other people have got PAs. Melanie goes through, and if she sees an email she doesn't like, she deletes it, right? So sometimes I wish she wouldn't, quite frankly, but she does. So
no, you don't.
Who's going to tell Melanie she shouldn't do that?
That woman's an angel. She can do what she wants.
I know. Anyway, so in emails particularly, it's the subject line. That is, you're going to grab attention. But there's something else you can do here which works a treat. This is my hot tip for the day. It isn't actually, that's later, but this is my hot tip for now, right? If you really want somebody to read an email, it's not just enough to rely on a really sexy subject line, because that might just get passed over. So one of the things you can do, extra work, and unfortunately, all these fancy AIs can't do it for you. You have to do it. But if it's an important email to an important person, it's worth it. And you connected on LinkedIn, you send a voice message on LinkedIn, which I'm sure everyone knows. You do it from your phone. You can't do it from your laptop. You can do it from your phone. And you just record a little message. And it says something like, look, this isn't a pitch. I'm just saying that we all get too many emails, but I genuinely think that you're going to be interested in the email I'm going to send you. And you're going to know in the first couple of lines. I'll tell you that right now. So you read the first couple of lines, less than 10 seconds. You'll know if it's for you. And if it isn't, you can just stop reading and delete it. If you're keeping an eye out for this, you can tell because the subject line will be following my LinkedIn voicemail. Okay. Hopefully you'll find time to read it. Yeah, speak soon. So or something of that nature. Now, if you're not connected on LinkedIn, you can send a LinkedIn in-mail if you want. Or alternatively, you can even, and we've got a client that does this all the time, you get these little picture postcards. I don't really have any here, I don't think, do I? Oh, no, I thought I did, but I haven't. Oh, I have actually. The little thank you. This is a little thank you picture postcard we've had printed up and that we send through the post. All right. This will get read. And what this does is draw attention to the email. Okay. So if it's really important, you've got to have a pre-step now, which you didn't need to do before. You could just rely on having a really sexy subject line. No. So this is about grabbing attention. And if it's a telephone call, I think you've got to have an opening line which is going to grab their attention. There's that guy, I can't think of his name now. Oh, blooming neck. It'll come to me in a minute. And he does a lot of coaching around cold calls. I really like some of the stuff. I really hate some of the stuff he does. But one of the things he says is he opens up with, this is a cold call. So you are quite within your rights to put the phone down on me or give me 30 seconds and I'll tell you what it's all about.
I think people appreciate the honesty of that.
Yeah. And so you grab their attention. All right, then. Okay. Another way you can grab attention is you can refer to a competitor's name in the email subject line. How I placed a so-and-so and so-and-so at Thingybob, where Thingybob is a competitor, right? You stand a chance with that. Yeah, because it grabs attention. So what I'm saying to you is, and this is one of the important points I want to make now, what you have to start to do, I'm going to say this twice, actually. What you have to start to do is think like your clients. Think like the recipients of whatever it is that you're sending them, or when you contact them, think about what it's like to be them. I had the very great fortune in 3 different roles that I did over the years to be on the other side of the fence. So the agencies were ringing me. It was the best training I ever had. It's amazing. I just wondered if anybody else could pop in the comments if anybody else has ever been in that position where the agencies were ringing them. Maybe they were a TA, a resource controller, or a line manager. Man, it was fantastic because they think they're ringing in with this great thing. And it's like what everybody has said. It's like, and after a while, you do get a little, I'm not a rude person, I'm a respectful person, but after a while, it's like, oh, no, leave it alone, mate. I just had this, we're the best at this. We're this.
I'm trying to do my job, which is recruitment's a tiny part of my job. And I'm trying to do this bit, and you keep ringing me, asking me about it.
Oh, in the first case, it wasn't my job at all, but my boss said, well, I'm not doing it, so you'll have to do it. And you still got to write all them programs, mate, because I was a programmer at the time. It's like, oh, okay, then. So I don't know where they got my name from. Literally 10 minutes later, I get my first call, right? So I think it's important to recognize that if you start to think like they think and imagine what it's like to be them, they get a call. What are people going to say to them? They get an email. What's it going to say? Is it going to be old and cliched and tired? Have I got time for it? Is it really going to be of use to me? If you can think like that, it gives you an edge because then you can think, oh, no, well, no, I'm not going to say that, am I? Because obviously everyone says that to them. But you know what you can do, Kirsty, if you're not sure how your clients think? I'll give you one guess.
I'm guessing you could talk to them?
Yes, you could reach out and say, look, I just got to do a bit of research. Do you get a lot of emails from agencies? Yeah. Do you get a lot of telephone calls from agencies? Like the answer is going to be yes. Okay. Can you tell me what you really hate about that? Can you tell me, apart from the massive disruption in your day, can you tell me, what kind of things do they say to you? Because they'll tell you, and it's the same stuff over and over again. So then you can be different.
Yeah.
And it's the being different with AIDA that gets the attention. If you're the same as everybody else, you won't get attention. You'll just be lost in the noise.
Okay.
that all these other emails generates.
Okay. All right. Now, Martin did agree with you. He worked in HR and internal recruitment. His caps lock accidentally came on. He's not shouting at us. Has been inundated for recruitment during those years. So we definitely, I think, are on the. I think a lot of people kind of recognise that. So, Mike, we're going to move on to the next one now. I've given a bit more time to attention because I know it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Interest.
So now we're moving on to interest.
Okay. Okay. So interest is about joining the conversation that people have in their heads. Is the best way that I can describe it. So let me just ask you questions. Don't answer this in the comments or anything. I just want you to think about it. Are any of you feeling frustrated or overwhelmed or a little bit disappointed that the business has not turned out in the way in which you expected? Or are you unhappy that you're not making as much money as you thought? Or are you just a bit concerned that you can't see now how this business is ever going to make you rich enough to retire in style in 5 years' time? Or even 25 years' time, right? Now, I have those conversations with recruiters, and the ones that are going through that thinking, suddenly I connect with them because I've joined the conversation that they're having in their heads. They know that already. And probably, and what I also follow that up with is the concept of attractive cul-de-sacs, which is a decision that you make and you're absolutely convinced it's the right decision. And it's only when you made that decision and you move forward that you realize it was the wrong decision after all, because there was something that you didn't know that you should have known. And then you've got to back out, and it costs you time and it costs you money. And if you do it too often, it costs you credibility, right? So there's that feeling that, oh, man, you know, I want to move forward, but I don't want to make those mistakes, as I've made several before. We call it Gray's needs, right? I do the best with them because I can relate to it, because I say, well, okay, let me show you a proven way forward. Okay, there. You have to do the same. You have to join the conversations with the people that they're having in their heads about agencies. Or it doesn't have to be about selling, because there's direct and indirect approaches. If we're talking about direct, it's buy from me. That's the deal. Indirect is about content. It's, I think I can help you, right? And that opens up a wide vista of opportunity. So, for example, if you say, do you suffer from counter offers? You know, you get counter offers, candidates at the last minute, and it's all, everyone's racked off with that. The agency's racked off. Yeah. In many cases, that's caused because the candidate wasn't sold hard enough on the company itself, not the job. Because you can counter offer a job, of course, but you can't counter offer a company. If the culture's shit where you are now, it's always going to be shit. It's not going to change, right? It's not to say they won't accept the counter offer if the money's big enough, but if you've sold the company big enough, if you actually presented the business in a way that people are buying into the business, so much so that it's almost, wow, yeah, and what's the job again? Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. Tell me more about that thing. Oh, I wish. Anyway, well, that's EVP. So if you can begin to join the conversation that people have in their heads about this counter offer, or the fact that they can't get enough really good candidates, or the fact that competition seems to get more of the candidates than they do, the answer is EVP. So your approach is talking about this problem, and interest normally is about problems or opportunities.
Okay, well, I have the obvious question there, Mike, which I'm guessing people in the comments will have, which is, how am I supposed to know what that is?
Well, there are two ways, really. You can guess, because you know the recruitment market as well as I do, and I know what a lot of their challenges are. Or the other thing is, you can actually ask them. I mean, that's the thing.
That classic one, isn't there?
Yeah. I was at an event yesterday, a team event. I mean, the team thing, right? I went along to this event in Manchester, and just the fact that I went, I think the biggest benefit I get from those groups of people is I get to talk about them and what's going on in their lives, and they phrase things to me in a way that resonates with themselves. So in other words, I could come up with the same problem but use my words, and it wouldn't resonate, it wouldn't connect with them. But if I use their words, suddenly it does. And so mixing with clients and talking about their world and what's happening to them, and the frustrations that they've got, particularly frustrations, because a frustration isn't big enough to be a problem that you've got to solve. It's like having a bit of grit in your eyes, like, oh, I'll get on with it. I can't be asked. I can't do it. I'll just get on with it. It'll come out eventually. So if you can pick on frustrations, there's normally happier hunting grounds there, because there's less people looking for solutions. But there's plenty of things that you can talk about. We produce content. It's called executable content. That's the latest stage of content, executable content, right? So what EC is a way of producing content that people can just use.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to learn it. It's not a process or a tool or a technique like I'm doing now. This is not executable content. I'm teaching you about AIDA, right? So it's not that. It's you can just use it. So we've written an EVP ebook that our clients can download, put their logo on, and use it as if they'd written it. That's executable content.
Okay.
Well, if you can offer executable content to your clients, it's fantastic. And that is a fairly open space. Not many people are in that space there. So there's lots of opportunities, but what we're talking about in interest is problems and opportunities put in a way that they will resonate with the audience. And to do that, you really have to know your audience very well.
Okay, so we've had a question here, a good question, I think. So you're saying the interest is about playing on something that they have emotions about, i.e. they're frustrated about, worried, scared, annoyed.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you can turn anything into an emotion, and pretty much everything that happens to people creates an emotion. I mean, we're human beings, we feel things, and it can be happiness and joy, and it can be frustration, and in some cases it's annoyance. You know, a lot of the work that we do for our clients preys on the fact that, quite frankly, a lot of clients out there are frustrated with the agency community that they have because they don't really listen, and they're only interested in the money, and they don't take an interest in the business, and they don't deliver what they promise, but they get people. So you know what, I'll live with it. So if you talk about that, it suddenly connects with them, and it's like, but then you have to have something, which we're going to come to in a second, which is desire, which is going to pick up on that and work with it. Now, a little later, I'm going to talk about AIDA connection campaigns. I'm going to come back and join all of this together a little bit, really. But this idea of understanding the frustrations and the emotions that go with those frustrations is crucial, because if you don't do that, you're guessing.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. So as you said, we're about to go on to desire, to build that desire. But before then, Mike, we have a message from our sponsors.
Yes, and our sponsors, in fact, are us. So we run Profit and Lifestyle Growth Summits. They're one-day events, and they're for recruitment company owners who are, hey, this is the emotions here, ready to grow to the next level. So they're kind of okay, but they just want to transition now to the next level. They may have tried it once before and it's not worked out terribly well, but what they're looking for is a map of the maze. They want to avoid the attractive cul-de-sacs. They just want someone to tell them, do this and it's going to work for you. The other people that come on it are people who are frustrated, overwhelmed and disappointed. Things shouldn't have turned out like this. Not making the money that I should. I'm working too many hours. Everything comes down to me. If I'm not here, it doesn't work. I hate my life and I need to do something about it. And what they're looking for is clarity and confidence. So in our Profit and Lifestyle Growth Summit, we cover strategic business development, which is where the big money is. That's the big money, not your tactical malarkey, chasing down vacancies. We'll do Apex Client Care, which is a way that you can become the first choice supplier for more of your key clients. Zero cost marketing, in my humble opinion, is the only marketing that you should do.
Definitely my favorite.
Marketing. Yeah, absolutely. Layered fulfillment, which is the opposite to 360, which will reduce the chances of you becoming like a yo-yo company, as really high value fee earners leave. And lastly, we'll show you how to become a sticky employer to attract the people that you want. Now, you might be thinking, there's a lot there, Mike. Plus you get lunch, plus you get breakfast, plus get a full set of notes, plus you get 6 weeks afterwards email support. Gee, that's going to be expensive. I wish. It's 97 quid for the day per person. Same in Manchester. It's more in London because everything is much more expensive down there. If you want to know more about this, not sign up, but just know more about it, just email Summit to me at mike@flair.co.uk. Kirsty will leave that on the screen for a moment or two. If you do that, I will send you a link and it's down to you then, so we don't hassle you about it. So that's a word from our sponsors, and now back to the program.
It's also a great place to meet people. We get to meet people that we only see online, which is always fantastic for us and like-minded. So yes. Okay, Mike, without further ado, let's go on to the D. Let's go on to desire.
Okay, right. This is the argument, really. This is it. This is the answer to the problem. This is the approach that you take, which is different. So if you were saying, well, okay, one of the problems is you don't get enough really good quality candidates to choose from. Well, there's a reason for that normally, because they don't employ people on retained or exclusive. So if you're in contingent, you're just going to hit the job boards, hit LinkedIn, send a few messages, make a few phone calls, leave a few messages, cover as much ground as you can, and move on to the next, because you only get paid for 1 in 5 of the deals that you work on. So you can't spend a vast amount of time on it because you only get paid. So there's a reason for that. So if you can explain that actually there's 30%, it's estimated, any particular job role, 30% of those people are passive but open, particularly to a strong EVP. Let me tell you about this company I've got a role at. So let me just share with you what they're doing over there. I think you're going to like this, right? And then let me tell you the role I've got. You're going to lead on the EVP. Those guys are more likely to be interested. So if your approach, say, was to talk about the lack of candidates, if you think that's relevant in your space, now let me tell you how you can do that, right? We've got a very simple way that we do that. We have a 3-stage methodology to reach people that other agencies can't reach. Let me tell you what that is. So you're beginning to build up desire for your way of working. If you want them to come to an event, say, maybe you're doing a webinar where you want to explain this, or maybe you've got a white paper that you've written which explains this. Another one that I've seen, which I really like, is how to make line managers better at recruitment. Really. So maybe you've written an ebook about that. You describe the problem, get their interest, and then talk about what's in the ebook. But you don't tell them. You tell them the what, but you don't tell them the how. That's the secret with this. You tell them what, but you don't tell them how. The how, you want the how, and you've got to come to the event, or you've got to take a call from me, or excuse me, you've got to take our white paper or whatever. And if you want it, you've got to respond to me. We don't send it to you. You've got to respond to me.
That's such a key point, Mike. I really want to reinforce that. There is so many people I know send out the content or the link or whatever first, and then like wonder if you do that 2-part ask, if you send it and say, well, would you like this? That is almost like a first mini test, isn't it? It's like a mini.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think that, I know we've got some questions coming in. Do you want to pick on a couple actually, because I'm loving this, right? It is what we call self-selection. So it's a way of saying, yeah, well, I may or may not be interested, but you send it to me anyway. No. If you're interested, you ask for it and we will send it to you, or we will do it for you. You use it very much if you're doing public speaking or appearing on a podcast or whatever. You have something which float. If you want it, come to me. It's called self-selection, and that's definitely what you're on. I just want to bring up Holly. Thank you very much for that, Holly. Can you send £20 to Holly?
It's already in the post. It's already in the post.
There you go, yeah. And just for this one, just so as you know, we are going to be doing virtual Profit and Lifestyle very soon. So if you just send the summit and say I'm in America, we'll put you on the list. And as soon as we do our virtual one online, you will be informed, and you are happy to come if you do.
So with desire then, Mike, is it almost like you've related to the problem in the interest? So you tell them that you understand them, and then the desire is essentially like dangling the solution in front of them.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, yeah. And you give them a bit of the solution, give them a little bit of a taste of it, that's fine. And it's only the same if you did a presentation, really. So they used to say, tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. We don't do that anymore, obviously, because people's attention spans have diminished. They are, in fact, less than the goldfish now, human beings. Did you know that?
Yeah, probably. My attention span's like a split second. It's like less than babies.
So it's diminished dramatically from what it was. So you open your speech with something very dramatic. Then you outline this problem and why that problem is important. What happens if they deal with this? What can life be like if you overcome this issue, or you manage to achieve this opportunity that you have in front of you and benefit from it? Okay, tell me. Well, I can tell you some of it, but if you want all of it, I can't do that in 20 minutes in my talk. But if you want all of it, I've got this thing. We're doing this event or whatever. So yesterday, when I went to this team event, I didn't sell anything to anybody. I just talked about the summit, and already the first person I noticed has signed up this morning, and there's another one coming in because he's already rung me up. So I'm not selling anything to anyone. I'm just presenting a problem to a solution to a problem that people are having. You must be the same.
I think it's interesting because when we spoke at the beginning, we spoke about people almost being bombarded with what the individual thinks is an original approach, but it's not. They're just being bombarded with content, with everything. And so it's creating a world of skeptics, of which I am the queen. I am the most skeptical human being that's ever lived, because I had a salesman for a father, and all of the people I hung around with who were his friends and worked for him were all excellent salesmen as well. So I think this approach, because it's sort of saying, like, I'm not throwing it at you. If you want it, come and get it. It sort of combats skeptics, because I don't like being sold to, but I will buy things. And that's the difference. You should never sell to anybody. You just make it so that it's easy for them to buy.
I think the problem we all have, and I have this sometimes, I fall down all the time. I'm so passionate about what I do. My belief in it is so deep that sometimes that pushes me too far. Because I really believe you should come on this thing. I don't want to come. No, really come. I'm never that sad, actually. But, you know, you send one too many emails or you make one too many calls. And it's just because you really believe that it's the thing that you're right for. And like this particular thing, I'm not going to retire on 97 quid. Well, I could have retired when I was 38.
Don't do that. You'd have gone mental.
I did try to remember. It was horrible. Yeah, but the point is that you must be the same. You must start to think like this. But the secret is you must phrase the problem to get interest in words that resonate with them, not with you. They're not your words that matter. They're their words that matter. And then you have a chance of getting that open space.
So we've got their attention. We've related to their problems. We've gained their interest. We've built desire for the fact that we have a solution of some sort to that emotion, to that frustration that they possess. And so the last thing to do really is agree to an action. So what kind of things do you have on this?
Well, obviously it depends what it is, really. If it's a telephone call, the action might be to give you the vacancy if that's what the purpose of the telephone call was, or to agree that you can call a future time when they're going to release the invitation to tender for the PSL, or whatever it is. Really, you have to understand what you want from that interaction. If it's something that's soft like an email, or if it's like a presentation that you're doing, or you're appearing as a guest on a podcast, then it's very important to turn that into a telephone call or a Teams call. I mean, that's the bottom line. So quite often, if you make a good enough case in an email and you say, look, I'm going to give you a call in the next couple of days to do the thing that whatever I didn't do in the email, right? To go into this in more depth, or to explain exactly how we do this, or whatever you're going to do. However, if you don't want me to do that, just reply to this email and I won't, you know, and that's a crucial thing, right? Is that I'm not desperate. I don't feel that just because I get you on the phone, then I won't shut up until you agree to doing whatever I want you to do. No, if you don't want to engage, I'm okay with that, right? Because if they reply back and say, no, thanks, Mike, you can reply back and say, well, thanks for telling me that. That saved me a lot of time. Just one last thing before I go. Is it no now, or is it no forever? And if it's no now, when's a good time for me to reach out again? It's perfectly fine to say that. Because if they say no, don't ever darken these doors again, well, fine. You've saved yourself a whole load of hassle, haven't you? Trying to chase somebody that's never going to work with you.
Because as a business owner, you don't have a lot of time. So why would you waste it focusing on somebody who's never going to convert?
Quite so. That's quite so, Kirsty. Marketing is what's called an exclusive activity. It's not an inclusive activity. We want to exclude as many people who aren't serious as we can, because what's left we can sell to. Whereas sadly, a lot of marketers, it's the opposite. They measure the success of an event by the number of attendees. Inclusive, get people there. No. I'd sooner have 3 attendees and every single one of them could buy from me. So their job is to exclude the people that you don't want. And that's your job when you're doing these calls or sending these emails. If you're not interested, well, fine. You know, I'm not. What we do with the event, if you say you want to come, if you don't come, then we'll say, look, do you want us to remind you or not? If you want us to remind you, because some people can't come because the date isn't right, well, it's fine, we will. If you're not interested, when you're ready, we won't. Not going to waste that time.
Again, it comes down to that thing, though, of not selling. It's people buying from you. It comes down to that element, I think. And Pam's had a really great comment here, which I really like, which is asking them is so important. It's a good idea and it seems so simple. It's taking the conversation to the next level when they don't have an active vacancy that can be quite challenging.
Quite so. You're moving more towards a strategic, what we used to call back in the old days, relationship selling. Apparently, we don't call it that now. I still do from time to time.
You do. It's
now called strategic business development, but it was called relationship selling in the day. And it's about, well, okay, timing isn't an issue for me. You know, if what we do is attractive to you, but we can't work together now for whatever reason, fine. Let's just keep in touch. Let's just keep building that relationship. Let me keep adding value with you. And that's why it's important to have real content, not the automated generated noise that's out there, the real stuff that's actually going to add value with people. Because then that gives you an excuse to keep in contact over the time without actually trying to pitch all the time. So, yeah, so it's good. So just on this, I know we've got to roll on to something else now, but
yeah, we do.
Call to action, make it as passive as you can. So I'm going to do this unless you tell me I shouldn't. really is the ideal one.
Yeah, so it's not them filling in a form or clicking a link and downloading something. It's normally, I'm going to do something. All you have to do is go, huh?
Yeah, you're in the process. There's 6 different stages you go through in a sales kind of process, relationship, funnel, scrabbling for the word there. And the pivotal one is getting them on the phone. The pivotal one is having a phone call, which they agreed to. Not like catching them on their mobile from a number that they don't recognize, but no, I expected your call and I kind of know what it's about and I'm vaguely open to it. So what have you got really? That's the pivotal point. From that point onwards, you can make things move into a different direction. You can realize that you're never going to trade, and let's not waste our time.
Okay, now we are going to move on to something you've mentioned, Mike. If anybody has any questions for Mike, this is the time to pop them in because we're coming towards the end now. But I've heard you say, Mike, that the most effective AIDA tool that has the biggest effect is an AIDA connection campaign. Is that still correct?
That is correct. So if you think of an email, we talked about those earlier, and we said, well, you know, the subject line grabs attention, the first 2 lines of a sentence really creates interest, and the rest of the email, which is just a fold, up to the folds, it's not very long, it's going to build enough desire, and then the call to action is passive. Okay, but it's all in one hit. If it's a phone call, a cold call, say, it's the same, it's a hit. You get through, you grab their attention, you create a bit of interest in 30 seconds, and then you've got the rest of the phone call. Those calls on average is at 8 minutes on average. So you've got the rest of that 8 minutes, create desire, and then a quick call to action at the end. Fine. Supposing you split up the AIDA into different interactions. Supposing, and we did a little bit of this earlier, supposing the first thing you get from me is in the post. And all that does is grabs attention and starts to build a little bit of interest. And then you get something else, which could be something else in the post, or it could be an email, or it could be something through social media, or it could be an invitation to something. Again, it could be a hard copy invitation or a phone call even, you know, if you want to go to that step. But if you split it up, if you split the interactions up and each interaction has a job to do, grabs attention, starts to build interest. Second one really builds interest, reinforces and hammers that in. Third one is to create desire and give the answers. And the fourth one is some kind of interaction on the telephone. Then, because no one's doing that, they're all ringing around looking for bloody vacancies, right? So if you take the time and trouble to do that and you focus your attention on high value prospects, see, a lot of tactical business developers just contact anyone. They see an advert, let's ring them up. Fine. Well, is that client going to be of any use or not? You know, if they just give vacancies out to willy-nilly agencies that ring them, probably not really. Not the kind of people I want as clients.
Just on that, Mike, just give a clarification of what you mean by high-value client, because it doesn't necessarily mean one with massive margins or massive fees.
Almost, well, yeah, massive margins would be nice. Yeah. It almost certainly doesn't mean a really big recruiter of staff, because the big boys are going to be interested coming in there with the ridiculous margins and their offshore engines to find people and their rubbish client service, but the buyers, the purchasers love it. HR can go and tell people they've got this great, they're using XYZ, everyone knows XYZ, can't get sacked for that. So no. So you probably find that the higher value are the middle range. Typically people are targeting PE-backed businesses. Businesses are going for the second stage, or gone through the second stage of funding. So proof of concept is the first one. Yeah, this works. Get some more money in there to go to the next stage. And as part of that next stage, you've got to hire people, lots and lots of people. They don't normally have any kind of structure. They don't have an HR team usually. They haven't got a purchasing manager. What's important to them is to get the right people. So it might be that. It might be you're a niche provider, and so your niche creates value. So yeah, I remember we once used to provide people to a well-known German car manufacturer. We had been a main supplier, but they screwed us down so much on the margin, we just weren't making a profit. So I came out, but continued to sell them some niche skills that we had, and we'd cornered the market in these skills. And they thought that they were going to get them for the margins that we used to sell. No. 25% for these boyos. Well, we're not paying that. Fair enough then. A few weeks later, phone call. Yeah, we'll pay it then. Did, yeah, honestly. And I made more money off the odd few people I had in at that margin than I made on having these like 30 people in on contract doing this shit margins, right? So sometimes it can be a big company, but you're going on a niche, right? You decide. It's not for me to decide, but you must know what a high value client looks like. You target them, and then it's worth doing this. Here's another thing which I've shown you before. Oh, here it is. These video cards. I'm running out of time. These video cards. Look at those. Aren't they awesome? Put a little video on, right? Where it is. There you go.
There
da, 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 da. Right. And you can make those videos bespoke, a bit like video. I just say we record a video, put it on there, send it. I guarantee that I'll grab attention and create interest. I guaranteed. Right. Right. It's just down then to you to put something on there which is going to build that interest and then give some kind of desire at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right. So that if you focus on higher value clients, then and you free your mind to get away from gives a vacancy, I've got this great contractor or I've got this great candidate. The world is open to all sorts of things to make yourself stand out and be different. And my friends, that's what wins you clients, and that's what builds empires, not dicking around looking for vacancies on cold calls.
Excuse your French. And so just to sort of summarize that last little bit up before we kind of come to your top tip is instead of, it sort of links to what Pam said a second ago, you know, you're not having a conversation asking for a vacancy. What you're doing is spreading out the connection, basically that AIDA, spreading it out over a couple of interactions. And so that they understand that you're in for a relationship, but you're not desperate for work. You'll wait until they're ready. And because of that calmness, again, they're choosing to buy from you rather than you selling to them. Is that the premise?
Yeah. We pre-write these. So on our growth program, not the P&L thing, but the actual program that we offer, the community that we have, we pre-write them and we test them and we know that they work. And people take them, tweak them a little bit and run them. So I know it works, right? And it's just so different. I don't understand why people aren't just like so hot for this, because it's the answer. Yeah, you've got to put a bit more effort in.
I think as well, because it takes time and people are in, they get to the moment where, especially if they're in the yo-yo, you know, where they get those peaks and troughs. If they're in a peak, they want business now. So the premise of spreading it out is, so somebody has asked a question here. Actually, I want to clarify it. Somebody said, would you make that AIDA over 4 points? So is it a touch point per letter or would it require more or less?
No, between 3 and 7, basically, between 3 and 7. I mean, you can do them, like we said earlier, sending a voicemail on LinkedIn and then sending an email and then a phone call. That's 3 touch points there. It's AIDA. It's the same thing, right? So it can be that. But I've run them, which have had 7 touch points in over a 10-day period. And the connection rate at the end of it is close to 30% for that particular thing that we did. So, you know, you've got to, we have all sorts of different AIDA campaigns because I like building them, quite frankly. It reminds me of when I was a programmer, because an AIDA campaign is just like a program. We design it, we do our best, we run it, it doesn't work. We figure out what's wrong with it, we fix it, we run it again, it still doesn't work, but it got better than last time. And we keep doing this until we get something that gives us a predictable result. We know that if we send it to 100 people, 5 people will buy from us now, but another 30 people will continue to talk to us going forward because we've got their interest, right? As soon as you know what the outcome is, it's just a matter of whacking in the names then to the AIDA campaign. It's brilliant. I know I would say that, but it really is.
I know. And I know that you're so excited about this, but we do unfortunately have to round up. So in a second, Mike, I'm going to come to you and ask for your top tip. Obviously, you've given quite a lot of tips throughout today, but the number one thing somebody should do if they want to start implementing AIDA. But before then, let's talk about the next show in 2 weeks, which we've got Alan Shave for, I believe.
Alan is coming on. Alan owns a business in Scotland. It's a very successful business. And he's coming to talk about 2 things. He did an MBO. So him and his partners took the business from the original owner. He's going to talk about that. But he's also got this astonishingly low turnover of staff. He's got a very strong EVP and he doesn't pay commission. How cool is that? So he's coming on the show to talk to us about that. Do not miss that, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be released today, isn't it, Kirsty, that show?
I'm going to try and get it up today, yeah.
So we'll, you know, if you definitely want to be invited to that, just put in the comments and we'll make sure that you do, because it's going to be a doozy.
Just pop a 3 in the comments if you want to make sure that
you're put number 3 in there. And we'll just email the link when it's available.
I mean, that alone, no commission is enough to get people interested. Okay, Mike. So your top tip, we've gone through a lot into AIDA today. People are thinking, I like this idea. I think I could get high value clients with it. And I like that premise. What's the first thing that you think they should do, or the biggest thing?
It's something that I spoke about right at the very beginning of this, is you've got to get inside the head of the people that you're sending this to. You know, you've got to think like your clients. You've got to understand what they feel like when they get another bloody email saying this, that, or the other. Or I sent this previous email and you must have missed it. So this is the really. I mean, how do you feel? No, junk, gone. Online reputation damaged, right? Blows my mind. Anyway, so start to think about them and think about the words. Understand the words they're using, the emotions that they're going through, right? Because then you're going to be able to build these AIDA campaigns and be able to structure your AIDA emails or structure your AIDA telephone calls to get that bit in the middle, that 6 minutes or whatever it is, to make your case, to build some desire, to get the call to action. So there you go. That's me.
Very good. I think it's been a great chat. I mean, it's very clear to me how much you love AIDA, and I hope that everybody watching this now is equally as excited as you have been the last 2 weeks, really, when I told you that we were doing it.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. Tell you the truth, it really was.
Okay, fantastic. So, guys, we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank you, first of all, everybody who's watched and commented. Thank you so much. It makes these shows so much more fun for us when you guys get involved. Just a reminder, if you do want to go for that Profit and Lifestyle Growth Summit, you email summit to mike@flair.co.uk and we will make sure that you get the information, but it is not a direct buy. You just get information. Don't worry on that, don't you, Mike?
Yes, indeed, Kirsty.
Okay, so I want to say thank you to Mike as well for reining himself in, because I know he could talk about this for about 6 hours. So thank you very much for you, Mike.
We're finishing now. Can't we go on?
No. Okay, and we'll hopefully see you guys in 2 weeks.
See you soon, guys.